does put people a bit on an uneasier side of feeling. So for me, and it's probably not just me, but many of us that were alive back September 11th, 2001, when the Twin Towers were struck down, when I see this and people falling out of buildings, my mind goes to that day and how, like, we all can remember where we were and what we were doing and how this played on the TV and it didn't even look real. And then after that day, a lot of things in our country changed to present day. You know, they really had to up their security measures to keep people safe. Which does resonate a bit with this card, which is from the classic Rider-Waite-Smith. So it's crazy to think, even though there's no twin towers in this card, it's certainly a tower that's on fire with smoke and people, you know, falling out of it. So it's kind of crazy to think of the similarity with the imagery. So we're going to go over some symbolism here. So this is the Roman numeral for 16. And so we have a lightning bolt right here, okay, which shows this is the stimulus that causes the change. This is change that's coming. It's basically buckle up and get ready, because what has happened is, from a theoretical viewpoint, there are relationships, careers, the way we manage our money. It's not on a firm foundation. And we've continued these same patterns that have not served us or others very well until one day it bites us in the butt. And then from our own actions and or even from a fatalistic viewpoint, the universe, comes this lightning bolt. And so we think that we have things under control and power over our lives and authority, and to a certain degree that is true, but this takes away all of that. So it destroys the crown that's seated upon this stone structure, causing a fire. This is no longer inhabitable. It is no longer safe to even be in, especially with the smoke, okay, and the fire. So these people are like jumping out of the tower, trying to escape it. One viewpoint I read compared it to the devil card that we reviewed previously on Saturday about, let me see if I can find it. So like these people were in chains and bound to their vices. And one viewpoint I read would be those people being free. They're wanting to be free of the things and the people that chain them down, tie them down. And this is them, you know, pretty well tumbling to their doom. So it is a darker card. It is atop of a cliff, like a mountainous region, to where there is no ground for them to land on. Behind us, it's like pitch black. The clouds reflect the uncertainty. And there is no sun in this picture. I did read an interesting fact. So there's these they look like little teardrops, if you would, for lack of a better descriptor, that are around them. So I found different things with those. So with those sparks, there was one site that said that it referenced the 22 major arcana cards, which that didn't make sense to me, because I know that it's not a linear journey and we can go backward and forward with our journey on the major arcana, but it doesn't make sense that the whole journey is reflected on the 16th card, when even though the full is 0, he's counted. So we've got a total of 22 major arcana cards. So how is something that the full, which is our seeker, when they've yet to experience it, how could it be reflected in those? So that didn't make sense to me. So I kept researching it. And then another site, I read that it represented the 12 zodiac signs. So that's another way of looking at it from a fatalistic viewpoint, you know, as far as, you know, the cosmos. In the end, it also, so it said 12 zodiac signs would be part of that number, because we've got a total number of 22 little sparks. So in addition to the 12 zodiac signs, it would also be the 10 points of the tree of life, which I alluded to the tree of life when I was talking about Odin putting his eye out to obtain better vision, like because what we see can lie essentially. And so he was trying to utilize, say, his third eye to gain wisdom, hanging on this tree for 9 days and 9 nights. So the 10 points of the tree of life, it has the male side, which is the right side of the tree, which is not pictured in the card. This is just a fun FYI. So the male side represents crown, wisdom, kindness, beauty, and eternity. And then the left side of the tree would be female, understanding, severity, splendor, foundation, and kingship. I almost, reading those, think they may have had them flip, because when you think of beauty, you think of a female. Kindness, wisdom, queens are more intuitive. Men are more like, the kings, technically speaking, with the action. So I think in the narrative I read, it would make sense that they had those attributes flip-flopped. And so those are rooted in Kabbalah. So that was interesting to kind of point out. So basically we've got destruction. The good positive side to this card, because they all have a medicine to them, which I agree with that viewpoint. I first heard it referenced by Lindsay Mack on her podcast that each card in tarot is a form of medicine, and I believe that. They are. They're really good sources for inspiration and for healing. With the Tower, we're doing away with what no longer serves us, and we have the opportunity to build anew with a better foundation, better materials, and to take our time and make a better structure. I mean, if I was these people, I would probably go somewhere else and build this stone tower. The only other individual I know from the movies would be Darth Vader, who lives in, his castle's pretty awesome in the movies, but he lives on Mustafar, with all the lava and stuff around him. So that's a pretty cool thing if you're a Star Wars fan, but I won't go into Star Wars folklore or whatever on this. So we talked about the opportunity to rebuild. Let's see here. And we talked about other things that can represent other than our relationships, work and finance not being on a very firm foundation would be death, pregnancy, birth. We're talking about like the major changes in life. Again, change is coming. So you just got to examine what that possibly could be and just be prepared for it. And I see Christy and Honor are on here. Hi, guys. You'll have to tell me in the comments how you're doing or message me to let me know. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's good to have you guys here. But I think it's one of those things when you get this card in a reading, if you are comfortable enough to draw other cards, you can really read the big picture and full story by looking at your other cards. But it's important to reflect. Maybe if you get the same card in a reading over and over and over, it could mean that there's something that Spirit's been trying to tell us or tell you, for instance, on your readings, and if we're ignoring it. And then this happens because we fail to do anything about it. And really, I think that's the gist of this card. Just know that this is not the end of our fool's journey. And again, it's painful. So it's similar to, say, the death card, where we have the death of something, which leaves room for a new chapter, a new beginning. Well, our fool, this is pretty bad after meeting the devil. Now there's the Tower. So of course, he's going to be right back to feeling very disheartened and bummed out. But this is not the end of his journey. He's just got to start to rebuild, and start anew, Now we're going to go ahead and look at some other cards for comparison. So here is one where, this is from my Crow deck, where it's like the top of this tower, it looks like a clock tower, has fallen off. and the crows are circling around it. So it's like a state of chaos. This guy looks like he may be trying to fly away from it, of course, because here's lightning, which caused this to fall down the way it has. And this is the stimulus. This is either divinatory, or it's because of something we have done or not done that has caused the theoretical lightning bolt. And again, we've got what appears to be a mountainous region in the background, clouds for the unknown and uncertainty. And there's a lot of type of like jagged rocks along the bottom. So this is not a card to feel very warm by or anything crazy like that. If anything, again, this is change, but again, there's opportunities for growth with that. Here's another one. And again, take in all of the elements here. So it's like we've got a clubhouse. Like it's like a house that's built into this tree, and it's barren. There's no leaves on it. So we're thinking it's either fall or winter time. But this is such a big house. There was not enough room to support this house. Even though it's a beautiful house, it was put on a very poor foundation, and it cannot support the weight of the house. And it was not safe for this person who's hanging on to it. And really, they should not be trying to hang on to that house, because they're going to end up like the Wicked Witch of the West sister, like from the Wizard of Oz. Like, this person's going to end up crushed. And I think this is symbolic a bit. It's like a reference to the Devil card. When I talked about the people loosely being in chains by their own vices, and they could free themselves of the devil, but they don't, because they're so attached to their vices. And so I feel like this person in this photo, even though this is a failure, this house will come crashing down. This cannot continue. They're hanging on to something. There's no point in hanging on to. You have to let go. And so around them, so this, let's see here, there's another person. It appears to be a female that's fallen. So she either lost her grip or just decided to let go. And then at the very bottom, it looks like just blackness, like there's nothing. And it could be like, it resonates with the feeling of this card. This is a card where people feel like they have a loss of control, depression. They feel very overwhelmed, alone. They don't even know where to begin. Like, this structure took time to build, and it has built up to such a point that's no longer sustainable. So it's not a feel-good card at all. And I know we've all been there a time or two. And then even the tree that this house is built on, if you look at it, this cliff, it looks like it's about to break off from the rest of the mountain, like the ground. These roots don't have a good place to secure in ground. So even though I'm sure the tree is beautiful, as long as there's not a house in it, this again is a poor structure. It's a poor tree to put this house in. And there's all this chaos and lightning. And like, if you look toward the corner of the card, it's a white color. It's just when we get around the lightning and right around here, it's very dark. So I think it just goes to show the power of our perspective, that in anything, no matter how bad it may seem, if we have the support of other people, because we can't get through this stuff alone, people need people, and we are solution oriented and try to think about how we're going to basically dust ourselves off and start again, then there is light to be found. There's no sunshine or anything in this photo. It will take time, especially if we're in some bad habits or in bad relationships. It takes time to put a close to these things and move forward and have inner peace and start a new chapter, Here's another one. And this one shows some little squirrels, and lightning has hit the tree that they were living in. And here's the cool thing. So the bad thing is it's food. It totally kicked its food out of the hole of the tree. So you know how those little guys, they like fill their cheeks full of food and they go and they stow it away for the winter time. Well, this lightning has totally messed up its home, which is not cool. But the really neat thing about this change that has happened is we see butterflies. And just think of how the butterfly goes into a chrysalis. I'm proud of myself for not saying cocoon. Maddie corrected me of that years ago when she was little. But they come out of chrysalises. And they go from this little being with legs just scurrying upon the ground. And it goes into the chrysalis. And one day it wakes up these big, beautiful wings. And just imagine what it's like to fly. And to have that little fella be like, wow, like I have never seen the world from this perspective before. But it's also like the snake shedding the skin. There's some beauty, there's some transformation going on. And you see these sparks, which are very synonymous with the sun. And what we've talked about the sun meaning enlightenment, warmth, beauty, just knowledge. Your path is illuminated before you. So even though this is an ending, it's also the beginning. And I think that our little squirrel friend here is kind of taking in like, wow, it's a bummer my food is like right here beside me instead of stowed away in a tree. But it's taking in the beauty instead of just scurrying away because this is so much bigger than him. So I really like what the artist did in this picture. And there's still green there. I mean, there's not a whole lot of green, but there's green, meaning that there is potential for regrowth, which is a good thing. And then if we look a bit closer as the lightning strikes, we have light, which is synonymous with enlightenment and knowledge. So I think that's really cool. And it lights up the night. So we even have a beautiful use of like a turquoise here. So we have all this dark coloration other than close to the bark of the tree. And when you think of that, that's like a fancy word would be equanimity, which is like not being reactive, calm, seeing things from a neutral viewpoint. This is just kind of really synonymous with it really relates well to our death card. This is change. And we all, for the rest of our lives, have to experience change and then work through it, overcome it, and begin anew. And I mean, that's a big part of how we evolve as human beings, you know? And then the last card I'm showing, I mean, I don't like it like I do the other ones. So with this one, it shows this one, yeah, it's a stone tower. And it's just this portion of it that got knocked out. We're not sure what did it because there's no lightning in this picture. I mean, based on the architecture, who knows? Maybe it was like a cannonball or, you know, who knows what. Or it could just have been so poorly built. It was coming apart from just uneven weight distribution. Maybe that's what it was, from maybe the top being not level and, you know. But see, here's the thing, these little birds are looking at it thinking, wait, could we make a nest here? Because it's high up enough to where it would protect our babies from predators. They can make a little nest, maybe in one of the little neighboring towers or here in a little crevice. They could correct some, you know, put a little nest there. They seem very kind of at peace discussing it. And there are a total of 3 birds. So when I think 3, I think of collaboration, which touches on how we need other people. So I like that part of it. And there are clouds behind this structure. And it's gray. Again, very neutral. It's just seeing things for what they are, you know. So that, in a nutshell, is our Tower card, which is this guy. And so I think I've covered everything I want to review with that. And then tomorrow, same time, I will review the Star card, which has a much lighter feel to it. We've gotten past the Devil and the Tower card, so that's a cool thing to look forward to. But I would encourage you guys, if you get the Tower or the Devil, do not be afraid of these cards. They all have medicine to offer. And that's as per Lindsay Mack. She's the one. I love her podcast. It's Tarot of the Wild Soul. I have it on Spotify. She's been out for a while, but she gives you a different insight as well as like looking at the cards. And like she says, each one offers its own special medicine that we can take and reflect upon, and ideally journal, reflect, and grow from, and converse with others about thoughts and get their perspective too. So I think that does it for me. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments for me. And if I don't have an answer, I'll research it and I'll see what I can find if I don't know the answer. And if I just have no luck, I'll let you know if I don't have any. And it's been good seeing you guys on here tonight. And I hope that you're staying warm. And I hope that the rest of your week is awesome. And I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.